Maces, which was like what's his name?
Angus.
Angus. Well, had to be a Scottish name, didn't it? It had to be
Yeah,
Scottish.
yeah,
Anyway,
no, he's a good boy.
get that mutt out of the frame. Okay. Like Ross, congratulations on your on the Q tour. All right, we're gonna talk about that. All right, we're gonna talk about your matches for doing that, and I think probably a little bit of breathing space for you there, Ross, because it's been up and down for you, hasn't it? And it's been a bit of a rough ride coming off the tour, But
Yeah.
just before we get into that, there, let's talk about your professional career. All right, um, tell us when you first got on the world tour.
Sorry, I never caught the end of the question there.
When did you first get on the professional tour? When did you first get on?
It was 2013. So I got through a Q school in May 2013, and as you say, there's been a few bits up and down on the tour over the years. But I was on the tour between 2013 and 2019. I think when I first got on the tour, I don't think I was quite fully ready. Um, I didn't think I had like the scoring game or the match play game, but
Okay.
it's a great place to learn. You can't pick and choose when you get on tour and when you don't get on tour. But looking back, I wasn't really at a level where I could, compete and do well. Reach later stages of tournaments, etc. But it taught me a lot. My first couple of years on tour, I did get some good wins. I beat Ding Junhui in China on my first season on the tour, and then I had some other good wins like Steve Maguire. And although I never really kicked on in my first couple of years, it taught me a lot about what is required to be a top player, and it showed me the level that you have to get to in order to be able to go deep in tournaments. And then I would say it was really my third and fourth year on tour where I started to really get competitive and be able to get to the stage where I wasn't bothering who I was playing in the draw, etc. It did take me a couple of years to really develop that. I've always been someone who works very hard at my game, but the sort of standard difference between the amateur game and the professional game is just humongous. So yeah, absolutely. So the first couple of years was, it was really just about learning what I can and seeing what, other guys on the tour do. Well, what do the good players do? What do the guys who are achieving do? And, learning just, little things. And it's like, if you can learn a little thing from each player, then generally you're not going to be able to copy someone and say, right, this is how Ronnie plays, play like Ronnie. But it's about learning little things from all the different players and, finding what works well for you and then just combining it all and, working hard on the practice table. And, what I've noticed as well about just having a wide knowledge about what guys actually do. So if you're going through like a rough patch, then you can go to the practice table and tinker with little things, thinking oh, I've seen so and so do this. This might work for me, and just working things like sort of that way. When you go through rough patches, it's just about finding something that makes you believe that it's improved you. So my first couple of years on tour, I learned so much about, all the guys on tour. I was really studying everyone and, small details. And yeah, I did get quite competitive in my third year. But I think my fourth year was really when I started to show, some good signs of being a player, where I think I got to couple of last 16s, and I think I ended just outside the 64. I remember going into the World Championships. I think I was provisionally 63rd, but after the World Championships, I ended up being, I think it was 67th. But yeah, at that stage, that's when I realized that my games came together to a level where I can be competitive. And yeah, I mean, looking back on my 6 years I had on the tour, I never really achieved as much as I believe that I could have achieved. I think there was quite a few things that I could have done better, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. So, but I've learned I learned a lot, and even to this day I still reflect upon what I learned from my early years on the tour, and also from my practice partners at that time, Marcus Campbell and Graeme Dott. What they taught me, and it's invaluable. Like even now, I can recall on things from years ago, when I wasn't feeling good about my game, maybe something that I've changed that's gave me a bit of form, and it's just the experience, and going forward, just having close to 10 years of experience now of playing, on the tour as well as in amateur tournaments. It's a wonderful thing to have behind me, and going to tournaments, I'm certainly feeling confident to the stage of I can deal with whatever's thrown at me, because generally I've found when you go to tournaments, you most of the time it's a smooth ride, but sometimes you come across a bump that if you're an inexperienced player, it might put you off your stride a little bit. But I feel like I'm at the level now, and I've had that much experience that I can deal with these things, and it's all in good stead for me going forward.
It must have been quite valuable practicing with Dottie. He must have been. Was he a great help to you?
Oh yeah, he's always sharing his knowledge, and he a few years ago when I actually fell off the tour, he encouraged me to go and see Terry Griffiths, because at that stage I had never had any coaching before in my life, so it was just all purely what felt right to me, and um, what I thought was the right way of doing things. So I went to see Terry. I had a couple of full days with him, and I learned, wow, how bad a Q action do I actually have? I do everything not by the textbook. So yeah, like when I initially fell off the tour, of course I had some eye issues, but I still wanted to be a snooker player. So even though I wasn't playing for 6 months, initially when I went to see Terry, I still had it in my head, get back on the tour, etc., etc. But it wasn't until I really said, you've got to get things right. You've got to make sure your eye is not a concern anymore before you really go, to the stage that you're giving it everything to be a professional snooker player, because that is what it requires for you to give it everything. So yeah, like initially when I dropped off the tour, I thought, oh, I'll go away. I was still believing that it wasn't having that big an impact. So yeah, it was good having the lessons from Terry, because when I did get back into it after probably about 6 months where I wasn't really playing so much, I sort of started back with almost a fresh canvas, because when you've not played for that long, it's sort of your cue action is not really there. So it gave me the opportunity to then improve my technique, because I knew my technique was causing quite a lot of inconsistencies at that time, and also then games. So sorry, 1 second. I need to get this toy from Angus. He's whining at me. He's dropped his toy under here. There we go.
Bloody dogs.
Boy, Angus.
No, it's all right.
Yeah. So the time away, I done a lot of reflection on what I need to do to get to the next level. If the opportunity did present to me to be able to play again, and thankfully after quite a bit of trial and error, I was able to control the migraines, and yeah, I think all that experience has really gave me a lot of like a different perspective on things, and a lot more sort of calmness about myself, knowing that I can just enjoy things. It's a big thing that I went through medically. I thought that I was never going to play again. So just having that behind me, knowing that I can just be calm and enjoy snooker, and it isn't everything. You know, if you ask most of the guys on the tour, I think that they'll really feel like they, you know, it's everything. It almost feels life and death at some points. So, yeah, you know, just going behind from what I've been through, just knowing that, you know, that it's not the be all and end all is such a big thing for keeping me calm and also making me look forward to any upcoming events as well that I can that I'm fortunate enough to play in. Sorry, one wee second again, Angus.
I
There we go.
know, Ross, I know how hardworking you are because you've always kept in touch with me about the pro-ams, you know, and if you could have played in some of them, you would have done, you know, and I think at the time there when you were coming down to Milton Keynes, I know how hardworking you are because you were always curious about what was on and what you could play in the amateur game, you know. Let's just touch on the Q Tour, the recent one there. We've got obviously we've got Brighton coming up this weekend coming, which is they're just covering the tables as we speak.
Wow.
Funny enough, I'm playing the club there.
Always great conditions in Brighton. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a fantastic club and really well run. So I'm sure it'll be a fantastic tournament and all the tables for sure will be played tip top. I'm certain about it. Great job everyone done at the first Q Tour event, and I'm sure, you know, all the Q Tour events this year will be just as good.
So in the first Q Tour there, you had, I think it was you had 6 matches. Is that right? Was it six?
Yeah,
Or six
matches,
six?
3 on the Saturday and 3 on the Sunday.
I think you did young Michael Cullum in the first round. You know, he's a really nice kid. You know, racing, really nice lad. You know, I think he came from Brighton there time last year. You know, just talk us through that wee match to start with.
Yeah, well, you know, knowing Michael, he's always someone who's going to give you a tough game. So, you know, it's never an easy draw for anyone in the first round of a tournament. He's not someone that'll give you, you know, a lot of chances. So you need to be right up from, you know, the first ball and making sure that you know, you're playing well because, you know, he's a national champion this year in Scotland. And yeah, you know, he's a great player. I think he got to one of the final, the Q Tour, maybe the final Q Tour event last season. So yeah, you know, I certainly know this season he will have some great results in the Q Tour. So yeah, as you say, it was a tough way to open the weekend in Newcastle.
And you had Tyler Rees, I think, on the next match. Tyler.
Yeah. Yeah, he's another very good player. He does get quite a lot of good results. So again, he's someone who you need to play well to beat. And yeah, I did play well in that match. I think the first match against Michael really sharpened me up. So going into the second and third match on the Saturday, yeah, I was really you know, really sharp. Match play was good, and I think that's really what got me through on the Saturday. I certainly never, you know, had a lot of good scoring or anything like that, but I played really good match play and really good percentage snooker on the Saturday, and also on the final game on the Saturday against Leo. It was pretty much the same bar one frame where I think I made 137. It was like another match play style game where yeah, you know, there's quite a lot of like tactics involved and yeah, you know, it's great knowing that you can come through in a day where things are not all, you know, free flowing and scored. I do like, you know, a proper match play game and yeah, you know, Saturday I had three games of that fashion. So yeah, it was great, great, you know, warm up for the Sunday.
Best of fives, okay. Best of fives, all right to start with.
I suppose it depends how your start is. If you win the first frame, then you know the first frame's huge in a best of five. I think best of seven, there's, you know, obviously you still want to win the first frame, but there's a bit more breathing space. Best of five is a bit tight. You know, maybe the first rounds being a best of seven is something they could look at because with it being, you know, it's the second tier pro tour effectively, I think best of sevens would work well. I mean, some of the games can last a long time. I think that's probably why they've shortened some of the matches. But yeah, I'd certainly prefer best of 7 minimum, the same as Q School.
And then obviously you had a pretty convincing win over Jamie Curtis. That was the what was that? Was it the last? Was that the quarterfinals?
It was the quarters, yeah. Yeah, I can remember just a bit the same of the games on the Saturday. It was very match play like. The scoring wasn't free flowing at that stage, so I wasn't really playing many risky shots. It was just solid match play percentage snooker. And then I think the semi final and the final was where everything came together. The scoring, the great safety, the good tactics as well. So it was almost like I saved my best snooker for the semi-finals and the final. The earlier games, yeah, the earlier games were still good, but that's something I've been trying to work on, just getting a bit more scoring and a bit more free flow and break building into my game.
Yeah, it's a good win over Rory, actually. Pretty convincing win 4-1. And so just talk us through the final with George. George did quite well to get to the final there. It's nice to see George. I've seen George at his best. At times in the pro-ams, George has supported my pro-ams over the last 5-6 years. He's played a lot of them. I've seen George at his best, and he's played some fantastic snooker. Just talk us through that one. 5-2.
Yeah, like you say, he's a great player and a great guy. I think the last pro-am that I actually played in, one of your pro-ams in Brighton, he beat me in the semi-final. So yeah, I knew he was a great player. I can remember playing him years ago in a junior tournament in Gloucester as well. So we had quite a long history of games. I think we maybe met 3 or 4 times over the years. So I knew it was going to be a tough match. He's, as you say, a great player when he's free flowing, fantastic scoring, fantastic potting, and he's a very, very dangerous player. The fact he's got to the final of the Q Tour event shows how good a player he is, because the field this year is so strong. And yeah, hopefully he can push forward and get to more finals, and he deserves it. I can see he puts a lot of effort into his game, so best of luck to him.
I mean, he was unlucky. George was very unlucky. Was it 2 or 3 seasons ago? He reached the playoffs on the Q Tour for the tour card. He was a bit unlucky. I thought he had it in him. Then I think he could have had it. I think he was disappointed with that, but he's certainly good enough to take that far. So anyway, look, Ross, fantastic performance there. I'll be looking forward to seeing you in Brighton. I'll be up there. You can buy me a glass of wine, okay? And it's good to see you up there. And what do you think you are then, Ross? I mean, in terms of having had a few years on the pro tour and having dropped off the tour, and I know you're okay with that because you know what you have to do, and you've learned a lot. You've went through the process. You know how tough it is. You know why it is that good players go on the tour and drop off again and come back on again, because there's massive differences in standards between the players. But do you feel as if you've gained anything here? Do you feel your game is in a better place? Have you improved? How do you feel about your game?
Definitely, I can say now I'm a better player than I've ever been. I think all of my, all aspects of snooker, I don't really do anything poorly. And, although I don't do anything world class or probably even in the very good category, I do everything average or above, which is, it doesn't sound very impressive, but to be at that level where every department of your game won't drop below a certain level will always make you hard to beat. And it's certainly something that I've been working on a lot over the last year, just making myself very hard to beat and just making sure that each aspect of snooker and each aspect of my game is, competitive. And, by not having, anything that's poor or weak, it's always going to take a great performance to beat you. So that's something that I've really been working on. Like, for example, Zhao Zhengtong, wow, what a scorer the guy is. his break building you'd probably put in the world class level, but maybe his tactics and his safety is something that he needs to work on. So there's a big gap between his safety and his break building. And players like John Higgins, where he does everything very good. It's like just such a solid player, and it's what I'm sort of trying to model my game around. Not being weak in any department. And it's something that I'm always striving for every day, working on every aspect and making sure that, every aspect sharp going into a tournament. So, yeah, I'm very happy with the progress that my game's made. And, I always look forward to every opportunity, and I take it one event at a time. I don't look too far ahead. And I'm just looking forward to going down to Brighton next weekend now and having another challenge. Challenging each match is going to be a big challenge. Q Tour this year, wow, what a fantastic field. Every match you're going to get such a tough player. So yeah, one match at a time, and yeah, just every day try and improve myself that little bit more. That's what my goal is.
So this is probably a tough question to ask you, kid. All right, are you going to get back on the tour this season?
I'm very confident. I'm definitely very confident. Like I'm saying about which the different aspects of my game being very strong. I know if someone beats me, then they've played well. I'm certainly not a player that will give anyone a win. My bad days are still okay. It's and that's really great when it comes to um, tour qualifying standard, because people make a lot of mistakes, I've found, because of pressure, and just the experience and that I've got behind me now, and just the type of way that I play snooker. I'll know I'll be close on at least one or two occasions this year to getting back on the tour. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to playing every event that I can play in this year. It's like I'm saying earlier, I really appreciate every opportunity, just playing in each event, and just looking forward to playing on fantastic conditions against fantastic players. It's really what I enjoy so much about snooker.
Well, we'll be looking forward to see how you get on at the weekend at Brighton, kid. That's for sure.
Appreciate that, Dave. Thanks a lot.
That's all right.